Okay, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending where you join us from. Our 166th Reading Online Sports Economics Seminar. We are very pleased to have Alessandro Di Mattia from Mould University College, who's going to present the effect of a structural change in round-robin tournaments with 4 teams, evidence from beach volleyball. Before Alessandro starts, the usual reminders. The chat function on Teams is unreliable, so we now have a WhatsApp group, and if you want to join that, which also tends to have broader sports-related discussions here and there, then let me know. Do send me your number. I can add you to the group. One other thing to say is the early bird or the required deadline for signing up, if you've had your paper accepted for the European Sports Economic Association conference, comes up in 10 days or less than 10 days. So if, like me, you haven't done that yet and you're planning to go, then do register yourself and pay the fee. I think the fee might go up after that as well, so do look out for that. Alessandro, you've got an hour in which to present. Are you happy to take questions as you go along, or would you rather?
Of course, yes. I mean, I reserve some space for question and answer at the end, but I'm really happy to take questions during the presentation. And yes, perfect. Thank you so much, James, for the introduction. And I would like to join the WhatsApp group. We can talk about it
later. Me number then. Yeah.
Yes. So I will try to share my screen. Let's see. Okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So as James has already announced, I'm going to introduce this paper that I'm working on with my supervisor, Alex Rumer, that is in the audience, I guess. The title is The Effect of a Structural Change in Round-Robin Tournaments with 4 Teams, Evidence from Beach Volleyball. So this is the lineups for today. We are going to introduce the topic and see why we choose to provide this empirical support to a well-known topic that is fairness in tournament design. And so I would try to introduce you to the beach volleyball's settings and what is specifically discussed in this paper, which kind of tournaments, and then we will look at the data that we collect and analyze. So, okay, so starting with the preamble, as we all know, or probably most of us knows, in 2017, FIFA expanded the number of participants in the World Cup from 32 to 48. And this has already been discussed a lot in the literature review. We have many papers that discuss the unfairness and inefficiency of this format, because first the FIFA decided to divide the team in 3 groups of 16 group of 3 teams, and then for 12 groups of 4 teams. And they were really undecided on which tournaments formats was the best to take. And as been discussed by Alex and Guagliardo in his paper, where he proposed 2 alternative formats for the World Cup of 2026. The current format can lead to possible collusion given non-simultaneous game, and especially in group of 3 teams. This structure also erase other issues like some information asymmetry, and some teams are more incentivized in winning some games than others, or some games may result in being detrimental to win, so teams do not necessarily have the incentive to win in order to be best placed in the group stage and then be admitted to the elimination stage of the competition. And of course, increasing the number of games also increase the number of days of the competition, or at least the number of games played in a specific time frame. And this might also raise some concern about the quality of the shows delivered, because more games means more likely to be injured and more likely to be tired, and this can of course decrease the quality of the competition, and yes, and might also expose player to injuries that might go against their interest. So the aim of this paper is to provide empirical evidence on. So we investigate a traditional round-robin format where we have 4 teams and each team's playing 3 games. So every team's playing against each other in the group. And in beach volleyball, as we will see, this format has been changed recently in 2017. And now the same number of teams in a group play not 3 games, but 2 games per team. So they reduce by 1/3 the number of games played by each team. And we want to take advantage of this change to compare the fairness and the probability of the favorite team in each match to win the single game, to see if there's been a significant change in the fairness of the competition and in the probability of the team winning after this change. Fairness in this case, as is defined by Gross, and also in other paper that I will mention in the literature review, is seen as is defined as the ranking order according to team's ability. What does it mean? It means that we expect that teams with higher ability are more likely to win compared to teams with lower ability. So if we have 2 teams with the same ability, they will have equal probability of winning a match. If a team has a higher probability of winning than the other, it has a higher probability of winning. So it's a monotonic function in the sense that we expect to be like linear as a function of ability, the probability of winning. So the setting, so beach volleyball, as I said, provide a good opportunity to study the effect of playing fewer games in a group of 4 teams. And as I said, in 2017, the World Tour changed the group stage format by decreasing the number of games played from 3 to 2 games. Okay, so as regard the literature review, I wanted just to focus on how fairness is treated in the literature, both from a theoretical point of view and also from real context, especially in football. So we have Appleton in '95, so probably was one of the pioneers, especially in sports, talking about like tournament design and fairness, because he wrote a paper where through like a simulation game, he described all the kind of tournaments formats. I mean, the most famous like a knockout stage at the best of 3, a round robin, a Swiss tournament, and he basically in each of these tournament he compares. He tried to calculate the probability of the best ranked team to win the final tournaments as a function of I don't know how many games the teams lost during the competition and how many ties the team's record during the competition. So this is a preliminary work, but I think it's a really, I mean, it's really good because it was one of the first that raised the concept of fairness as function of a team ability. Then we have Arlegi and Dimitrov. They specifically define fairness in 2020 according to 2 axioms. So fairness is defined based on monotonicity in strengths. So stronger players should have higher probability of winning. This is what I said before. And equal treatment, so equally strong player should have the same probability of winning. So based on these two axioms, the two authors try to still compare different formats and see how the fairness is preserved during this different competition, assuming these two, taking as a granted these two assumptions that are quite plausible. And so, of course, there have been some authors that try to tackle these issues because, of course, we say the tournament design is unfair, so we should propose alternatives that try to take into account this inefficiency. And we have Sudulik and Trum, that is not related to sports, but it's more related to election system, where they evaluate the number of people like voting according to the different election format. And in this with a really long paper, they tried to see which was the election system that was more like complete in terms of representation and also in terms of attractiveness to people to go to vote. As regards sports, we have a really like a niche that's focused on especially penalty shootouts, because as we know, penalty shootouts, the classical format that is like AB, so the first team that starts kicking keep alternating with the second team, raise some inefficiency. So both by Palacio Huerta, Alex, Cohen, and his co-author, they propose an alternative method to play shootouts, penalty shootout system. And also they suggest that maybe other alternative approach like the tie break in tennis, where you alternate. So you have like a mirror like a path. So you have A, B, and then B, A, can offset this inefficiency that may raise some advantage for the first mover in most of the case. And then you have we have some specific paper, especially by Guyon and Sato, that are two of the most known and authors that publish a lot on fairness, especially in the FIFA World Cup. There have been a lot of critical issues about the mathematic fairness in World Cup and how we can change and makes teams that are stronger more likely to win or to advance to the next stage of the competition. So selection criteria. So in beach volleyball, you have to know that we have three main international tournaments: the Summer Olympic Games, the World Tour, and the World Championship. The World Tour and the Olympics game take place, the Olympic game every 4 years, and the World Tour, I think every 2 years. And for this reason, we decide to rule out of our data selection this kind of competition, because this would not have guaranteed us enough observation, whereas we take into account the World Tour tournaments events that are held in various countries in every year. So you, for example, I don't know, you have like G-Stat that is in Switzerland, 2014, 15, 16. So in this way, being one of the most prestigious tournament, by the same time giving enough observation to provide empirical evidence to our findings. So we decide to take this competition into account. So here is a graphical representation of the whole structure for the World Tour tournament. So as you can see, you have the qualifying stage. And once you are qualified for the group stage, you have 3 days of competition. The first day, you have the first seeded team competing against the fourth, and the second against the third. In the second, you have the first against the third, the second against the fourth, In the third day, you have the remaining pairs that have not played yet. So the first against the second and the third against the first. So it's a classical round robin group, where at the end of the pool tournaments, you have the round of 16, and the first team in each group qualify directly to the quarterfinals, so not to the round of 60, but to the next stage of the competition, whereas the second and the third teams qualify to the round of 16, and the fourth teams is kicked out of the competition. After the change in 2017, as you can see, the number of match day is decreased by 3 to 2. And you have the first team in the first day, you have the first team competing against the first, so the top team against the lowest ranked team. The second team competing against the third. And in the second day, you have the winner of the first match competing against the winner of the second match, and the loser of the first match competing against the loser of the second match. And then the teams that advance to the elimination stage are the same as the previous format. So the first go to the quarterfinals, the second, the third to the round of 16, and the first is kicked out of the competition. Here you can see the way teams are seeded across pool. So as you can see, let me see if I can underline. Yes, as you can see, the first 8 teams are seeded, having each team in one different pool, and then in a serpentine way, we can call it that way. In the second row, you have the 9th team, and so the team are ordered from right to left, and this change again. So this is meant to have a kind of balance pool, because, for example, in the first pool, you have the first against, the first team competed against the 16 and 17 and 32 teams. And in the last, you have 8, 9, 24, 25. Someone has raised issues saying, it does not seem to me that these are like fair, they're like balanced pool. But as we will see in our estimation, we take into account pool fix effect. So if we have some difference in terms of fairness among each pool, we will take into account in our estimation strategy. One of the main, so you will wonder how these teams are seeded. Teams are seeded according to what are called seed points in the pool stage. But in beach volleyball, we have different ways of ranking teams, and different way of calculating points that are assigned to teams once they win a competition or classify in a specific position in a tournament. And the 2 points that we take into account that are the internationally used and the most important are the seed points and the entry points. So seed points are calculated just the day before the starts of the tournaments, and they are the sum of the 2 athletes' entry points. So from the first day of the tournaments, whereas entry points are calculated 28 days before the events and take into account the best 4 of the last 6 World Tour tournament played over the last year, the last 5 days. So probably to be more clear, I have here a figure. Basically, they take into account the criteria are the same, because also 6 points take into account the best 4 out of 6 tournaments played during the last year, but the calculation is done over basically the whole period before the starts of the tournament, whereas entry points are calculated 21 days before. Why that? Because beach volleyball want to guarantee that when you seed teams in the pool stage, you want to be sure that you are taking into account the best form of the teams, so to have the most reliable and closest measure, let's say, of shape, form, and ability. Whereas when you need time to calculate because the registration to the tournament starts 21 days before. So you want to see a little bit before which are the teams that are eligible for the tournaments. And this is done 21 days before. So what might happen is that teams, but this is quite rare, but teams can play really well between the 21st days and the day before the tournaments. And the points that the team will collect in these days will be taken into account in the seeds points and not in the entry points. So it might be that a team, I don't know, like entry in the tournaments, it has to play the qualifiers because it does not enter between the 32 first team. It played really well between these 21st days, and once he reached the qualification, the group stage through the qualification, it might have a different seeding because he played well in this time shot that is not considered by entry points. For this reason, we decided to take both of the measure to see if there was a significant change in the way we rank teams according to ability. There are other specific issues and rules to see team across pools. The only one that is remarkable and is important is how home country are inserted inside the pool. So usually there are like some country quota, so you have like 4 or 5 spot reserved for like teams competing the home country. And if the team is ranked according to the seeds points, is ranked within the first 8 position, it will receive seed number 1. If not, the top team in the host country will receive seed 8. So this is meant to guarantee that the host team is considered a prestigious team and is like seeded as a top seed in one of the groups. Other host teams are seeded according to seeding points, and of course they try to not place 2 home country, 2 host teams in the same pool. Okay, so here say we prefer using seeds points and entry points as a proxy for ability, as they provide a raw measure of performance unaffected by tournaments organizer such as home advantage. So this means that organizer organize seeding according to the ranking of the team. So as we see here, based on the ranking that is given by each tournament. But since this might be affected by such rules as the home advantage, as you can see here, for example, US, it may happen that 2 US teams play in the same pool. So the organizer, they will try to rearrange the pool in order to not have 2 USA teams in the same pool. Since we are not sure, even if we take in our model into account the home advantage, we are not sure if this might have an effect on the fairness of the pool. We also take into account seeds and entry points, since these measures are not like affected by the reallocation of team by the tournament organizers. As regards the data collection, yeah, I'm sorry because I didn't tell James that I have to update the abstract because now we have more observation. So this hopefully will provide further evidence to our findings. We have like 3,160 men's matches and 3,359 matches for women. The data were like sourced from BAB Info, that is a database online source that you can easily find from there. There is quite easy to scrape data. And we collect data on seeds and entry points from the official World Tour website. So we scraped every tournament, we went there and we scraped the table with the seeds and entry points. How we select the tournament that we included in our study, we included, so At the same time, when the change in the format occurred, there was also a change in the label, in the definition of the tournaments of beach volleyball. So before 2070, the tournaments may be labeled as Grand Slam, as in tennis. So they were the most prestigious tournaments. Then you have majors and open tournaments. After 2070, they switched to a star system. So tournaments can be ranked from 1 to 5 star, where 5 star is the top tournaments and 1 star are the elite and lowest level tournaments. So we decided to include all the tournaments that were labeled as open, major, and Grand Slam before the change, because these include all the tournaments and all the tournament that we have access on. Whereas after the change, since we have 5 levels and not 3, the discrepancy between the first 3 levels and the last 2 is quite significant. What does it mean? That for the first 2 levels, the money prize is always below 50,000, whereas as we will see, for example, for a Grand Slam, the overall money prize was like 400,000 or can be 300,000 for a 5 star. So the monetary prize for like a low ranked team after a low ranked tournament after the change is quite low. And also the structure of these tournaments, it's really like variable. So you can have different number of team taking part, like 16, 32, 28, and also the format change quite easily within between tournaments. Sometimes you have like elimination stage. Sorry, sometimes you have like pool stage. Sometimes you don't have, so you go from qualification to elimination stage. So in order to be consistent with our data, we try to collect all the tournament after the change. They were like similar to the one before the change. And this consists in all the tournaments with 3, 4, and 5 stars. As a result, we have 88 men's tournaments, 50 under the old format, 38 under the new format. And similarly for women, we have 81 tournaments, 48 under the old format and 33 under the new format. Oh, sorry. So now I will talk about the data that we have. So if we look at data at match level means that each observation record a match. So I don't know, like team A against team B. We see that the mean, so we define favorite 1 as a dummy that takes values 1 if the favorite, according to entry or 6 points, won the match or not. So in this case, the panel shows the favorite according to entry points. So the team with the higher entry points is defined as favorite. And as we can see before the change, so under the old format, 71% of favorite teams for men won a match, whereas after the change, this mean decreased to 68. Then the other descriptive statistic, they just confirm that our data were collected correctly. For example, you can see that the favorite qualify, for example, like 6.5%. So this means that just 6.5% of favorite teams go through the qualification stage, whereas for the underdog teams, this happened 45% of the time. And this makes sense because the underdog teams is expected to go through qualification because he has no guaranteed access to directly to the group stage. And of course, also home advantage, you can see that the underdog has more advantage, 15% compared to the favorite, because as we have seen, we have country quota reserved for teams that might also be lower ranked, but since they are playing home, they can be guaranteed access to the competition. And we have seen that if a team is within the first 8 can be ranked as first. So of course, home advantage give help like to teams that are lower ranked to play at home and sponsorize, let's say, the sports in the country. The same for seeds points. As you can see, the summary statistics, the descriptive statistics are quite similar, whether we use entry points or seeds points. And for women, we have a similar picture. We see that 72%, considering entry points, 72% of the favorites won before the change, whereas 69 after the change. And the same is for seeds points. So we have a little bit across all the specification. We see that the percentage decreased by 2, 3 maximum percent. This is descriptive level. But if we look at a more like sophisticated way of seeing if this change has an effect on the favorite team winning a single match, we will see that this is also supported because we see that we don't have any significant change in the probability of the favorite. So how we try to capture this effect, we use a logit model. So YIT represent the probability that the favorite team I win match T. So it's the dummy variable that takes value 1 if the favorite team won the match in a specific tournament and in a specific game. Then we have another dummy that capture the new format. So it takes value 1 if the match was played under the new format, and 0 if not, so under the old. And then we include some control variables that include the ranking or the seeds points or the entry points, that are the 3 ability measure that we take into account. We have a dummy that take into account if the teams, as we have seen, go through the qualification stage. And then we take into account the monetary price of the tournament in a logarithmic form to have a more like short range of number and be more like easy to interpret. And of course, we have also a dummy for home advantage that take value 1 if the teams play at home and 0 otherwise. We have pool fixed effect, as I mentioned earlier. So we try to capture if there were differences across pool. So for example, if pool A, I don't know, the first team rank significantly won much more times compared to the team ranked 7 in the 7th pool, we take into account this heterogeneity. And of course, epsilon is the error term in our estimation. So here are the results. The standard error are clustered at tournament group level. So for each group in each tournament in each year, we have a group, an ID group, and we cluster standard error according to this specific group. And we define 5 different estimations. So here I just reported the coefficient that is of our interest, that is the new format. So in the first estimation, we use all the data available. And as you can see, and we don't include pool fixed effect. And as you can see, the magnitude of the coefficient is really small. It's like 0.8%, and it's not significant at any conventional level. Once we include the pool fixed effect, the result is the same. It does not change the standard variation, so it does not change even the coefficient. We then decide to see, okay, maybe it will be smarter or fairer to compare tournaments that that had both the structure, so tournaments that were held before and after the tournaments. And when we do that, we see that the coefficient slightly decrease, but it remains really small. And also the significance is there is no significant at any conventional level. In the first estimation, we decide to rule out all the Grand Slam tournament, since we say maybe $4,100 was a high incentive, so there may be incentive that we cannot capture rather than monetary prize. So to try to be more consistent, we just include tournaments that have a monetary prize between 70,000 to 300,000, and see the result were not affected by this subset of data. And in the last estimation, we just consider the first game, since the first game is always play in both format and does not change in the structure. We say maybe, I don't know, the first team can have a strategic advantage or can have a different attitude in the new format, and this may lead to a difference in the winning of probability of this specific match. But as we can see also, when we consider just the first game played by each team, this has no effect on the probability of the favorite winning. The same for women, we have really similar results. As you can see, the magnitude is always close, is between zero, it's negative and positive. It jumps from negative positive, but the effect is really small, and the significant is we don't have any significant results. What we did to test fairness is also to group our data at group level. So we have in this data set one teams represent one observation for each group. So I don't know if me and my partner play 3 games or 2 games in Pool A of London 2016. This is the sum of all the points that I collect in the group stage, and the results are collected in one observation. So from a descriptive point of view, we can see that the organizer ranking, the mean, of course, is 16.5 because we have 32 teams. So the mean is 60.5. And then what we did is rank teams within a pool according to entry points and seed points. So in each pool, you have 4 teams. So the teams within a pool that has the highest number of entry points is ranked as first, the second as second, till the first. So of course the mean is 2.5 because we have 4 teams and 4 ranking within each group. And yes, and still here we have the entry points and the seed points as a measure of ability, and home advantage is a dummy variable that takes value 1 if the teams play in the home country. Of course, in this case, in this data set, we don't have a favorite because we don't consider match level, but group level. How did we test fairness in this case? Also, okay, this is the descriptive statistic for women. What we did is we first compare for each initial ranking, so first rank, second rank, according to seeds and entry points. We tried to see if there was a significant difference in the mean of the final position of each team. So for example, we see that for men, the first ranked team with the all structure, it reached between 1 and the first and the second final standing at the end of the tournaments. This has a small increase after with the new structure. So it went from 1.7075 to 1.7089. And we see if this difference was statistically significant using a Wilkins sum rank test that basically order the ranking points in a descending way, and then see if these rankings are significantly different for 2 independent samples. That is, in this case, are the ranking of the teams and the final standing. As we can see from this mean difference, we don't have any significant difference except for men. We have this value that is below like 10%, but since we have 4 like p-value and 3 tables, because we have like entry points, 6 points, and I didn't include here, but we have also the organizer ranking. We just have 1 p-value that is significant. This might be due to random chance, and it's also really close to not being significant. And for women, the same, we don't have any significant difference. So this support what we have seen at match level, but also to have like a robustness check of this mean difference. Okay, sorry, because I thought I had the okay, here, sorry, I had the model. So we also try to model this using an order logit model. So in this case, our dependent variable is an order variable, because is a variable that take a value from 1 to 4. So the 1 is stay for the first teams ranking the pool, the value 2 for the second, and so on. So in this case, our dependent variable is the final position of the team. And we try to capture the effect of the new format using an interaction term. So we interact the variable new format that is still a dummy that takes values 1 when the match was, or the competition was played under the new format, in relation with the ability measure that we use in the estimation. And this allow us to see if the new format change in function of the initial ranking of the team, basically. And still we use pool fix effect, and we control for the ability measure of the team. So if we see at the result for the order logit, in this case, we have 4 estimation. Of course, we don't have any more the estimation for the first match, because we are talking about group level data, but the other estimation reflect what we have seen at match level. So we have like here, the first estimation without pool fixed effect, the second with fixed effect, the third where we consider tournaments play under the both period, and the first where we do not consider tournaments that have like a high monetary prize. As you can see, both the coefficients for the new format and also all the interaction are not significant. And of course, these are the ability measure. And of course, these are significant because it makes sense that a team that is ranked second is more likely to have a final standing that is lower in a sense that is higher. So from first final standing to second final standing compared to the first team, because all these coefficients are based in compare to the first ranking team, is our reference group. And so it makes sense that the first ranked teams is more likely to finish in the first position compared to the second, the third, and the first. And the more you move farther to the league table, this effect increase. So this confirms that our ability measure is well defined, but we don't have any significant results once we interact this ability measure with the new format. So it seems that the new format has no effect in the fairness of the tournament. So in the way the function between how a team is ranked and its final position is changed. And this is true when we use both entry points, 6 points for both men and also for women. We have really similar results. So to conclude, we had to be really careful because, of course, this paper is written talking about beach volleyball. So if we want to generalize our findings to other sports, we have to be sure that the settings we are considering is similar. And for example, football can be quite a tricky and delicate sports to apply these format, because we know that in football, it's being a low score game, there is more randomness in the outcome, whereas in beach volleyball, since we have like many points for each set, it's more, maybe it's more consistent in the way they find the winner of the match. And also the substitution rule, for example, in beach volleyball, no substitution is allowed. So if you injure or if you forfeit from a match, you are kicked out of the competition. Whereas in football, you have multiple like substitution, and if a player injures, of course you can replace it. So the dynamics are a little bit different, and also in the term of the team sides. In beach volleyball, you just have 2 players, and in football, you have 11 players. So there might be high variability in the ability of the players compared to the beach volleyball, where usually the 2 players are really, really similar in terms of ability. So this paper was motivated by the question whether if we decrease the number of games in a round-robin tournaments, these affect the probability of the winning team or the final standing of the teams. And this to define fairness, as we defined at the beginning of the paper. And our answer is no, it does not seem to affect these variables. And yes, so in this case, we realize that fairness is not touched when we reduce the number of games. Of course, it's not clear if this result is applicable to football because we have many differences, but despite that, it might be tested in secondary tournaments and sports with similar structure. For example, right now we have youth football tournaments like the under 20 and under 70 World Cup. They are played every 1 or 2 years. So it might be useful to try to reduce the number of games played in each competition, since you have really more offer and players are exposed to more games. Or you can also consider to apply this to tennis double. For example, you have the ATP finals where we have the same format where like doubles players playing in a group of 4, but they still play 3 games per teams. And so they might think that maybe also to avoid useless games that might happen sometimes in tennis, especially for the low ranked teams, they might consider this alternative to just improve the quality of games, of course providing less matches to broadcast, but still offering a good quality. So yes, so I'm done, and I'm happy to take a question, or if I was not clear, to try to clarify my work. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Alessandro. I am going to give you a team's round of applause and invite people to ask questions and provide comments. We have Vincenzo's hand up. So Vincenzo, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I really enjoyed it. I have 2 comments which I hope can be useful for you. Are not really critique, are things I'm not sure that popped out in my mind while I was listening to your presentation. So first, I am not really sure that you can interpret the absence of an effect has the presence of no effect. I don't know if I am clear. You have, in a way, a negative result. You do not find a statistical significant result. You interpret it as there is no effect at all. I'm not sure from a purely, let's say, theoretical econometric point of view, that is the best possible interpretation, but I am not the right guy to answer to theoretical econometric questions. So just something maybe you can check with someone better than me at that. And then I am not really sure when you do the interaction with the ordered logit, that once again, you can read the result in this way, because I believe that when you have an interaction, you cannot look at the coefficients, because this is there is an interactive effect. So algebraically, you should look at the marginal effect.
Yeah, I do.
And then it's a big problem. I tried to do it once. It's a big problem to look at the marginal effect in ordered logic, because you have so many marginal effects for each level of the thing. So I see why you put the coefficient, but once again, I'm not sure. Maybe you can do this because it's just a dummy in your case, but I would look better also at that. Thank you so much. I love the idea of using another sport to test something for another sport. I think it's a brilliant design setting. Just two minor, technical issue, hoping that might help you.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. So yeah, for the second, yes, we thought about that, and this why we present the coefficient. But I have, of course, the code also with the margins, and the factors is small. And I found a way to interpret them. It's kind of cumbersome because you have to compare for each ranking the final position, because you have, as you said, a lot of output. So for each position, you have like 4 ranking, but still the coefficient were really small. For the first question, I'm not sure I got, because you say these absent can be interpreted as something, but I didn't get what do you mean by something. Of course, I can ask is from econometric point of view. Also, me, I'm not really grounded in econometrics, so I will try to reach out someone else if want to help me. But yes, okay, thank you.
Great, thank you, Vincenzo. Any more questions and comments? Stefan.
Yeah, very nice, Alessandro. Very interesting, and it's I think the impact of different tournament structures and having a way to think about what the impact is on the outcomes is really great. So I really like it. I guess a couple of things. So firstly, I guess the classic problem here, you've got a really nice paper, really nicely set up, and then you get a result that it doesn't make a difference. And we all know that that's a real bummer when it comes to trying to get things published, right? So I guess you need some strategy for finding something that is going to make it, that does make a difference. And I'm wondering if simulation might not be a way to go. Think about whether could you simulate structures of tournaments with probabilities that would generate a difference, which there might be a benchmark against which to have your negative results. There's something that would suggest a positive result. The other thing I want to say is, and Alex will know that I'm saying it will be very well. This is just when you use the word fairness, you are violating the philosophical meaning of the term. It is not. It just is a fact in the world of philosophy that fairness is. There is no such thing as objective fairness. What you think is fair and what I think is fair are two different things. There is no way of establishing a unique and agreed sense of the word fairness. So when you say fair, I just turn off, and any philosopher is just going to turn off from this and say, what are these people talking about? I would just, you could say this is your version of fairness. This is what you think is fair, and that's fine. That's fine. But I don't have to. There is no circumstances where I have to agree with you what you mean by fair. You can't just say to me, "Oh yes, Stefan, sorry, you're wrong. This is fair." Fairness is a thing that we can disagree about. Whether Germany is playing Spain in an hour and a half is not something we can disagree about. That is a fact. I can't say no, they're not. It is going to happen, and that's what's going to be. Fairness is something which, even after the event, we can all disagree. So that's sorry for the rant.
No, I got the point. So I can just say that it does not affect the final standing as a function of the ranking without mentioning fairness. Okay.
Well, you can use the word fetish. You can say this is one sense in which some people might use it, but you just can't say that it is a universe. There is no universal
Of course.
concept.
Okay.
It is entirely...
Probably Stefan did not pay attention very good, but there were 2 slides about the definitions of fairness that we use.
Alex, I paid very close attention.
And we will never agree with Stefan about fairness. No, this is one thing I learned. We will not agree.
No, but you can say that other people have said in a paper that this is what they mean by fairness, but so what? I can just say that's not what you need to talk to a philosopher about this. You need to talk to somebody about the meaning of words. This is just you're making a category error here about the meaning of the word. It's not, again, this is not something, and I don't think it's even up for debate, Alex. You can insist that you're right, but you can insist that 2 and 2 equals 5, but it won't. And you can say that you have a universal definition of fairness. You don't. That's just not the meaning of the word.
I believe that I agree with you for the first time since.
Okay, good. But again, it's a philosophical point, and it's not really about against the paper, because I think the paper is really interesting, and I think there's, it's definitely, I think it's great to make this comparison of different tournament structures and the effects and incentives. That I think that's what we're trying to do in sports economics. I think so. I think that's not really the philosophy is a different issue. And that's
okay. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you, Stefan. Any more questions and comments?
Thank you, Stefan.
I assume, Stefan, you're not having your hand up still. That's a legacy hand.
yes, indeed. Sorry. Yeah, no. One rant per day is enough, right?
Well, it looks like we may be reaching the end of our time. So thank you very much, Alessandro. Really interesting talk on beach volleyball. One of the few beach volleyball talks that we've had in the series. So it's good to increase the range of sports that we consider in the Roses series. So thank you very much for that. We will meet again next week when we have Luca Fimarco presenting strategic behaviour in the labour market with mobility restricting contractual provisions, evidence from the National Hockey League. So please do join us again next week. Thank you very much once again. And I hope you enjoy your sporting and other weekends. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice weekend.
Cheers. Bye-bye.